Hello all, welcome back to On the Road with Vincent. Really just taking a little couple days getaway, really just an overnight getaway. We're returning to the stage this weekend as this is being filmed. By the time you see this, we'll have already returned to the stage. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit behind. But just kind of wanted to get away for a day, kind of clear our heads, and figured I'd take y'all along with me. I'm going to see some places I've been to before and a couple places that's new to me as well. And we have just crossed into Watauga County, North Carolina. We're riding up 421 right now, just about to pass under the Blue Ridge Parkway. And I'm going to see some kind of spooky places on this trip. See some other interesting sights along the way as well. But a couple things in particular I want to point out along the way are definitely on the creepier side. The sun is definitely already set now. We are on top of the mountain and it's getting darker by the minute, but go ahead and say now that we are going to attempt to see the Brown Mountain Lights tonight. Now, I have seen them a couple times before. I do actually have a picture of them somewhere. Hopefully I can work that into this video if I can find it. But hey, maybe we'll get to see it tonight, and maybe we'll catch it on camera again. So that would be very fun to share with you all. But we're going to keep on rolling for a little bit, and I'll see you all shortly. And right now, we are driving down, I'm not sure what the actual name of this road is, but we are in the Pisgah National Forest in the Linville Gorge Wilderness area on our way to Wiseman's View. Now, a lot of people take this road maybe as far as the parking lot for Linville Falls, which is very, very beautiful waterfalls. Been there quite a few times. Not going to really have time to go on this trip, but definitely check that out if you're in the area. But anyways, this road is quite long. I believe it's about a total of 14 miles long. All dirt, all long, winding mountain roads. It's actually only about 4 miles to Wiseman's View, but that 4 miles takes quite a while to drive, because I don't know how the road is going to be tonight, but typically when I'm driving through here, the road is all washed out, rutted out in a good number of places. But we're going to keep on driving. We are now approaching Wiseman's View. Now, earlier when I said that we're in the Linville Gorge Wilderness area, I do mean that you are truly in the wilderness out here. I've camped out here once before, and I've camped in many places over the years, but camping out here was truly one of the more unsettling areas, just because you know you are alone out here. Now, there is typically other people camping along the road, camping throughout the gorge, but it's still, I mean, you really don't know like how secluded you are until you get off in these mountains like this, just somewhere away from everybody. So we are now at Wiseman's View. Now, behind me, I know you can't see this, but is what is known as the Grand Canyon of the East, Linville Gorge. And below me here, behind this rock wall, is about a 1,000-foot drop down into the valley. Now, I can put pictures up on the screen now from what this looks like during the day, but it does not do it justice. This is quite possibly, of all the overlooks and views I've seen, this is possibly my favorite view in the entire world from up here. It is absolutely beautiful in the day, and it's even more peaceful at night. Now, we are, again, trying to see the Brown Mountain Lights. We ran into a couple earlier that said that they were seeing them earlier, so we're going to keep our fingers crossed. Maybe we will see them tonight. Got a little bit of rain earlier, so kind of got stalled out, but it's cleared up now. Haven't been here too long. Typically, you'll see them over along this ridge line. Now, of course, you can't see in the dark, but if you look at these pictures of the daytime, you'll see these lights. The best way to describe them, especially if you're not from around the Carolinas, you might not have ever heard of the Brown Mountain Lights. To put it into layman's terms, they're considered a ghost light. The lights can sometimes start down the valley, raise up into the mountains, and sometimes they go all around the mountains up into the air, do all kinds of crazy things. We've seen them do amazing things before, starting down the gorge, up one mountain, just going down the ridge line far faster than any human could be moving. And there have been scientists from all over the world come to try and figure out what causes these lights. They've actually been seen reportedly since the time of the Indians living in the area, the Cherokees and other tribes as well. But every explanation they can give for it has always been counteracted with something else. For a long time they said it was a train light cast on the mountain or something like that. Well, then the train stopped moving and people are still seeing the lights. Now one of their theories is that it's headlights from miles away somehow getting trapped in the air and the light gets bent, and something that sounds really stupid to me. I don't know. But, you know, I forgot how many cars were around, when the Indians were living through here, so, maybe they had that explanation then too. But if there is some explanation for it, I truly don't want to know, because I feel that it takes all the fun out of it, it takes all the mystery behind it, and, if you come up here and you don't see them, it's still very peaceful. I love being up here. Even just saw a few shooting stars earlier. That's very relaxing up here. But if you do see the lights, it's always an extra bonus. Now, as for the legends behind the lights, there have been many stories throughout the years. There's a bluegrass musician, Tommy Fail, had a song about the Brown Mountain Lights, and in that song, the legend was it was an old farmer who went missing hunting one night, so his slave took a lantern looking for him, and neither one of them were ever found again, and the slave is still searching for him. You still see his lantern light. Another one was that there was an Indian battle years ago, and many of the Indian men were killed, so their wives search the valleys for them to this day. Again, all stories. I don't know the explanation behind the lights. I don't want to. I just love to see them. Hopefully we will get to see them tonight. We're going to hang around here probably a couple hours, and maybe if we do see them, they'll hang around long enough we can catch them on camera. So, just stay tuned. So it is now about 1:30 in the morning. We have just gotten out of the Linville Gorge wilderness area, back on 221, headed back to our motel for the night. Didn't have any luck tonight seeing the Brown Mountain lights. Hopefully try to get back here next month or two. Maybe give it another shot. That's the way it is sometimes. We've seen them before. Sometimes all night, and sometimes we've spent hours here, just like tonight, and never saw a thing. But still, just nice to get away, nice to be out there. We're going to head back to the motel, get a good couple hours worth of sleep in, and get ready for the day ahead tomorrow, where we'll definitely see some very interesting sights. Just like that, it is morning again. Second day of our trip. Of course, it's going to be a rainy day. Seems like every time I stay in this area, it ends up pouring down rain. But thankfully, most of the places we're going to see today are visible from the car. So we're going to continue climbing up the mountain here to get to our first stop. We are now driving through Beech Mountain, North Carolina, which just so happens to be the highest town in America east of the Rocky Mountains, sitting over 5,500 feet in elevation. The next closest municipality that is higher, I believe, is in Des Moines, New Mexico, over 1,200 miles away. And Beech Mountain is mostly known for skiing. There is a large ski resort on top of the mountain, but there is also the Land of Oz theme park, which at one time was a fully operational, full-time Wizard of Oz theme park. Now they only open a couple times a year, and there's been a couple kind of interesting, kind of dumb creepypastas written about the Land of Oz park. Never got to visit it yet. Always up here at the wrong time of year for when they open. But maybe here in the next year or two, I will finally visit that. Now, one of my favorite little stores to visit when I'm in this area, typically visiting the one in Boone, but there are many of them, are the mass general stores. Now, they're fairly spread out now. I know there's a new one that just opened up in Roanoke, Virginia. There's actually one in downtown Winston. I've never been to that one yet. I haven't been to the one in Roanoke either yet. But here we are in Valle, Crucis, North Carolina, at the original Mass General Store. Now, Mass General Store, originally known as Taylor's General Store, has been serving the Valle Crucis community since 1883, at the time selling everything from cradles to caskets. The current store, as you can see, still sells many products that it once would have back then, as this location is still a functioning local general store, as well as serving as the community's post office. Now, while many of these old small general stores have long since closed over the years, the ones that still remain are truly something from another era, much like something you would see on the Waltons. And while this store does sell many modern amenities and various tourist souvenirs, much of it is still dedicated to household goods and hardware. and for such a small community, it is a rather large store. While I only videoed this one room, there are about 3 or 4 ground level rooms in the store, as well as a couple of rooms upstairs, with its own departments dedicated to footwear, knives, toys, and many kitchen amenities as well. This case shows some of the items that the Mass General Store has sold over the years. One very interesting item I noticed, though, is this children's cough syrup, in which the active ingredient is chloroform. And less than a quarter-mile away from the original store is the Massed Annex store, which mainly carries candy, clothing, and outdoor supplies. Now here on my left, on the outskirts of Valle Crucis, right along the Watauga River, is the old St. John's Episcopal Church. Now, this church and this cemetery especially is actually home to possibly one of the creepiest local legends I've heard throughout the state of North Carolina. That years ago, I don't know when exactly the time frame the story takes place, but apparently 2 boys were riding along this road and said a giant black dog with glowing eyes jumped out of the cemetery, and I don't remember if the story is that they hit it or it just started chasing them, but it chased them all the way back through town, and they drove all the way to Boone, and said it followed them for a good bit of the way. They kept speeding up, and it stayed right alongside them. And then for years since then, people have said if you come through here, be it the hours of midnight, 3 a.m., that's typically when these things usually happen. Don't know when it really goes for this story, but they say that this dog, known as the demon dog or the Hellhound of Valle Crucis, or of St. John's Episcopal, will chase you down the road just as it did those 2 boys. Now, of course, we were here during the day. I don't know too well if I'd want to drive this road at night. Not really because of that, but I mean, as you can see, this road is just way out in the middle of nothing, and I live in the middle of nowhere. Not around here, but I know places back home that I don't want to be driving at night. I definitely don't want to be taking these roads in the middle of the night. But we're going to head on down the road a little farther, and soon we're going to see another famous road that I'm sure most, if not all of you, have heard of. Now, just across the Tennessee state line near Mountain City, not far from Highway 321, is this road that many of you all may be familiar with. Made popular by the 1988 Steve Earle song, this is the infamous Copperhead Road. Now, this road is actually not called Copperhead Road anymore. In the years since the song's release, many people began stealing the road sign, causing Johnson County to rename the road to Copperhead Hollow Road, which I find rather ironic because there are still no road signs on the road. I'm not sure if people continued to steal them, or they just never replaced them, as many of the roads in this part of the state actually don't have road signs, which can make it very difficult to find this road if you don't know what you're looking for. I've actually been here before, so I knew where I was going this time, but when I first discovered the road, I had to wander around for a good bit before I actually found it. And as you can see, like much of eastern Tennessee, this road is also in the middle of nowhere, so I don't advise those who are easily lost to go hunting for it. I also wouldn't want to see this area become overrun with tourists. Even though I'm no local, I still like to respect the residents' privacy, especially on a road with such a reputation. As the song states, you better stay away from Copperhead Road. And on a more somber note, I filmed this just a couple days before Steve Earle's son, Justin Towns Earle, sadly passed away at the age of only 38. Right now we're crossing over the most eastern end of Watauga Lake. Now we'll be seeing quite a bit of this lake here in the next little bit. I love this little community through here, right around the marina. I've only been through here, I think, one other time before. I just love that old one-lane bridge. They've still not, I don't know how old it is, but you know, it's been there a good while, not been updated really. I feel like a lot of this area through here hasn't been updated in quite some time, and that's perfectly fine. I love seeing these little old towns and old communities left just as they were. Now we're still riding along Highway 321 in Tennessee, and somewhere out that way, across the mountains in the valley, is the town of Butler, Tennessee. The town of New Butler, Tennessee, I should say, though it's not very new anymore, but the old town of Butler, Tennessee, lies at the bottom of Watauga Lake. You can see here behind me. Now, of course, there are many towns at the bottoms of most of these TVA lakes built around the time of the Great Depression. But the story of Butler is a pretty interesting one. And band Old Crow Medicine Show, one of my favorite bands, they actually have a song about the town of Butler called Half Mile Down, which is a pretty good analogy to what happened to that town. And what road trip would be complete now without a flight on the new drone? We're just making a quick flight over Watauga Lake, and every time I look at a lake of this size, I can't help but think of Burt Reynolds' quote from Deliverance as they're deciding what to do with the mountain man's body, when he asks the group, "Do you ever look out over a lake and just think about something being buried underneath?" And it's truly hard not to, knowing that there is an entire town submerged under near 300 feet of water. All the creeks, waterfalls, and wildlife, not to mention all the memories and stories this town once held, all washed away by one big dead lake. And we are finally back in Virginia. Technically, I guess we're still in Tennessee at the moment, but we are straddling the state line here along the appropriately named State Street in downtown Bristol, where everything to my right is in Tennessee and everything to my left here is in Virginia. So while I'm still a couple hours away from home, I'm just inches from my home state. I do thank you for joining me once again for another extended road trip. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so that you never miss any new content. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, please give a like and a comment down below. This has been Vincent Rains, and I will see you all next time.